You're listening to the Mississippi Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wyatt. Today on the show, we cover a lot of ground from cooking to land management, everything in between, with Mikey Dyer from How to BBQ Right and Buck Junkie here on the show.
Mississippi Outdoors is sponsored by Entergy Mississippi. Entergy is building a stronger and cleaner grid to power a brighter future and protect our great outdoors for generations to come.
You're listening to the Mississippi Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wyatt. Have you ever heard of Buck Junkie? See, and I've got a cheat sheet because it's on Mikey's hat. Mikey Dyer from Buck Junkie and How to BBQ Right here with us today on the show. Mikey, good to meet you.
Good to meet y'all. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so the easiest question right off the top.
Okay.
For those that don't know, what is this? What is Buck Junkie? Where is that coming from?
So I started working for How to BBQ Right about 5 years ago, and me and the owner, Malcolm Reed, had a common interest in hunting and the outdoors and things like that, and so did some of the other employees that worked there. So we kind of all got together and decided to kind of create a podcast and videos on what deer camp experience is like from our point of view.
Oh, cool.
So it's everything from land management practices that we utilize. Some of them work, some of them don't. We're not experts, but and a lot of recipes, like cooking recipes out. A lot of wild game. Some of it's not wild game, some of it's just home cooking. But also we do some kind of comical videos and mix that into try to keep our audience interested in it. Sure,
that's really cool. Yeah. Okay, so there's a food, How to BBQ Right too. Mm-hmm. So that's. You mentioned that you work there. Yeah. There's a whole staff. So what is that for those of us that don't know? How to BBQ Right. What is that?
So Malcolm Reed was a competition cook, and he created his own style of barbecue rubs, his own brand. It's called Killer Hogs. And he was running the barbecue circuit competing, and him and his wife decided that he had a good enough personality and was good enough good at teaching people how to cook. So they started videoing him, and they turned it into How to BBQ Right. And that name just kind of stuck, and Malcolm does a lot of instructional videos on how to cook an array of different things. It started out as barbecue, like competition barbecue, how to cook a competition brisket or a butt or ribs or chicken or things like that. And then it's kind of developed into just about everything, from mixed drinks to dips to sides to all these different things. So he's got a pretty large following now. So
he really does. You can't have. I've seen the videos, and every one I look at makes you hungry on the spot.
Oh yeah,
he just has a way about it. How'd you get? Did you know each other previously?
We did. I was actually the director of the public works for the city of Hernando. And I had competed a few times in different things that I competed against Malcolm. And I had met Malcolm a couple of times at those barbecue contests. And one of my brother-in-laws actually went to work for him. So he kind of became more available, we've seen one another a lot more than we had in the past. And we got to talking about the outdoors and hunting and barbecuing and stuff like that. And we just kind of clicked and became really good friends.
It's interesting. I guess it's a rhetorical question almost. I mean, because you do this, but have you found that, in our neck of the woods and in the state of Mississippi, that those two things kind of run together a lot, and that is hunting, mm-hmm. fishing outdoors, and food.
That's right.
And cooking.
It does.
They're sort of intertwined, aren't they?
It does. I mean, because a lot of people, when I first started hunting and stuff like that, my mom and my dad, they were kind of limited on recipes on wild game. Okay. Fried deer meat or, fried fish. We didn't hardly grill any of it and didn't really utilize it in much of nothing other than spaghetti or chili, ground, mm-hmm. or make deer burgers and stuff. So we've kind of taken that to the next level. And a lot of the recipes may not even be ours. It may be something that, we learned from somebody else, but we put it on our videos just to kind of get it out to the public to where they can see there's a lot more ways to cook wild game than just the standard frying it in the skillet and, putting gravy on it or something like that. So.
Sure. Now, how old are you?
47.
47. Okay, so you're old enough to remember way back in the day, the cereal commercials where they'd say Mikey likes it. You remember that?
Yeah, I kind of got hazed a little bit when I was little because that was like the biggest, largest cereal at the time. The most popular cereal, one of them. And
certainly the most popular TV commercial. There was the little kid.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Mikey likes it.
Yeah, everybody used to kind of get at me about that. Mikey likes it. Mikey likes it.
So I'm certainly not a producer. Chip would be the idea man, but that'd make a great video now. Hey, Mikey likes it.
Yeah, we may be on to something there.
There you go. So for you mentioned you competed as a cook also.
I did. I started a barbecue team. It was just supposed to be fun. It was me and my brother and a few close friends, and we started doing it. We only done a couple a year, nothing major. We weren't running the barbecue circuit like Malcolm was and stuff like that, but we were just doing a couple just for fun, local stuff mainly. And, as I progressed in my marriage and my children got older and they started playing ball and different things like that, that kind of took over. Going to barbecue contests and things like that.
Priority list changed.
Priority list changed pretty good. So, I backed off of it a good bit and still tried to compete here and there as much as possible.
Is it because of, like Hernando, the proximity to Memphis, the competition? Is it maybe more popular in that part of the state because of the proximity to Memphis, you think?
Yes. I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but in DeSoto County or in our area, we have some of the best competition barbecue cooks in the world. Right in our area.
Yeah.
And most of them we're good friends with. So
sure. Okay. And then to take it back, to How to Barbecue Right with Malcolm and the whole crew. And then you sort of discover, okay, we also have this common thread and we all hunt, we all enjoy it. And then that sort of sprung up now and has become a thing from a content standpoint too, right?
Yes. Yeah. We took all the kind of the same premise of the How to Barbecue Right and turned it into Buck Junkie, is teaching people how to cook, teaching people the things that we have learned from trial and error, on the property, managing the property, or the different farms that we do have. We have 3 now, and some things work, some things don't work, and we're not scared to fail, and
Sure.
if we do, we like to talk about it in our podcast. We tried this and it just didn't work. It didn't work for us. So.
Well, I would think though that's one of the primary things that resonates with your audience is just sort of this. It's real. We're not pulling any punches. We're not trying to fool you into thinking everything works. It's just from a viewer standpoint, I like that. And that, hey, I'm getting what's really going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in the cooking world and as long as and with the as far as outdoors and things like that, some things work, some things don't work. A lot of people try to sell you on it regardless. And we're not sponsored by anybody, so it doesn't matter to us. So we try to be as truthful as possible and not really beat anybody up if something doesn't work or a process that somebody's trying to sell on the internet doesn't work.
You and I were talking before we started recording. You had a neat story about John Gruchy,
yes,
from the Department of Wildlife Fisheries. He's been here on the show, a deer and land management expert.
Oh yeah,
who really knows this. And it sounded like he helped you a great deal early on.
He did, John. Malcolm had this farm for a couple of years, and I came to work for him. He'd had it about a year or two before I came to work for him as his farm manager.
In DeSoto County?
In DeSoto. The farm is actually in Tate County.
Okay. Yes.
I had Malcolm decided that he wanted to plant year-round food plots. That we had been planting winter food plots, a mix of cereal grains and clover and things like that. And he wanted to start doing summer plots. Had some pretty good sized fields that he wanted to start planting beans in. So when I came to work for him, he asked me, did I know how to plant beans? Told him, I can do that, no problem. So I go out there and we buy these pretty expensive beans that are advertised on the internet there, in a lot of these videos. And they were a little higher than what normal beans you get from the co-op, different brands they have. So we buy these beans And we plant a couple of different fields in these soybeans. Anyways, I went out there, fertilized them, did everything you're supposed to do. Got the beans up to about, I don't know, they got up about 3 or 4 inches out there. Pretty bean field. They were coming along great. And I come back the next week and the whole entire bean field is gone. I mean, there's nothing. It's just dirt. And I couldn't figure out what had happened there, and I kind of thought that maybe the neighbor had sprayed a field or something like that and it had drifted over on my bean fields, and wasn't really sure what had happened. It was kind of a large bean field to kind of just disappear on me. So anyways, went back, checked the field again the next week. Beans came back up and we're refertilizing and everything. They jumped on back up about 3 or 4 inches, come back another week later and they were gone again. Well, in the meantime, the Soil and Water Conservation, DeSoto County Soil and Water Conservation had a food plot seminar, and John Gruchy was one of the main guys speaking there. So I met John, and John said he would come down and do a site visit one day. Well, he wound up coming, it was a few weeks later, probably 2 or 3 weeks later. John met me down there, and if you've ever met John Gruchy, he's a very educated man. I mean, very educated. I thought I knew a lot about the outdoors till I met him. When he made me feel small. So, anyways, John does a site visit, and we're going through the woods, and he's checking all these little native plants and bushes through the woods. And he was like, "Let's stop here and let's walk in the woods." And we walked some of our woods and things like that. And John was like, "You see these plants right here?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he told me what they were. He said that is not a preferred thing for the deer to browse on. He said, "What's one thing you noticed about that plant?" I said, "They don't have no leaves down at the bottom. They're all on the top of it." He said, "Exactly, the deer are eating it." He said, "Your density of deer are so high." He said, I don't know that I've seen too many farms that have had this high of a density of deer.
Okay. So am I reading what you said is basically he recognizes a plant that most of the time deer are not
Deer do
eager
not
to
mess
eat
with
it.
it. Yeah.
But these are chewed up and eaten up, which he goes, okay, well, that means there's a lot of deer here because they're competing for food.
That's right. They were competing for food, and there were so many of them that they were almost starving to death. And we had noticed when we had started hunting the property that a lot of our deer were really, really small. Our average size doe, and I'm talking about an adult doe, was about 60 pounds. We had killed a couple that were, maybe 70 pounds, but it was rare. And a lot of times I wouldn't even shoot them thinking they were yearling deer, smaller, but they were just their ribs were almost showing. If you've ever seen, like a poor dog or something like that, his ribs are sticking out and he hadn't eaten, on the side of the road. That's what our deer looked like. So they were just devouring everything they could get in their mouth, just trying to survive. And that property was pretty unique because there's a lot of cattle farms around it. There's no real dense woods or any kind of agriculture or anything like that. So really it was just pasture grass for the deer to try to survive on. And we had the only, decent sized block of woods in there, and they were just devastating that property.
So you come in that environment and plant a bean field.
Yeah, I come in there and planted a bean field.
And they mowed it down.
They could mow that bean field down in a week's time.
And that's something.
And it was pretty high density.
So what do you do for something like that? I mean, to eventually get it where you want it to be.
So that was one of the biggest things that John was talking about is we had to decide what we wanted to do with the property. Do you want this for recreation? Do you want this for deer habitat? Do you want it for turkey habitat? How do you want to approach this? What do you want to do? So me and John sat down and talked about a lot of things. And he kind of gave me recommendations. Didn't use all of John's recommendations on everything. But a lot of it I did. So he recommended me taking somewhere around 10 to 15 deer off of the property every year for the next 4 to 5 years to get the density down. Okay. I didn't take John's recommendations on that. I went a little more aggressive. We shot 40 deer in the first year. Okay. We took 40 antlerless deer off of the property in the first year.
Was that because you didn't want it to be a 5-year process.
I didn't want to wait on the 5-year process.
Yeah.
I was a little impatient with it, and it was, I had hunted it, and John had told me, you know what's here, Mikey. You see what's here. I'm not here. I hadn't hunted your property or seen pictures or, been able to do an assessment over the fields or anything like that, when the deer are in them, to see what how bad it really is. And I kind of explained that to him, and he didn't want me to shoot that many deer in 1 year. He said, "You're probably going to wreck your deer season." I said, "That's okay. We're trying to get this thing right, and I want to be able to sustain a healthy herd of deer on this property. So if managing it, aggressively on the front end is what I need to do, that's really what I want to do. If we ruin our deer season, hey, it ain't ruined. We're still killing." Yeah. Does and things like that and processing them. And, we had a lot of deer meat that year, gave away a lot of deer.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And we got the density down that year. The next year we killed 20 more. The next year we kind of started backing it down, tapering it down to about where John was talking about.
Okay.
So we got it down to 12 to, somewhere around a dozen a year now.
Okay. So in that 5-year period that he initially gave you a recommendation, by the time you got to the end of that 5-year period, the total numbers in that span were about what he had recommended?
Almost, pretty close to it, yes.
It's just you went heavier on the front end.
I went heavier on the front end, yes, because they were so poor. And just looking at them, I felt bad for them. And that's one thing, about managing property or a deer or animals or something like that. You got to respect them, you got to love them. And you're not just a steward of the land, but you're a steward of the wildlife that's on that property too. You need to take care of them the best way you can, or help them anyways.
Yeah, sure.
If that means taking a lot of them off, that's part of it.
Yeah. It's so it's a success story there.
Yes.
With the help of John from MDWFP and kind of working together on that.
That's right. John gave me the plan, and John was there available, but he's got a wide range of properties that he goes around at that time he was not even really supposed to be in that area. I think they were waiting on to hire somebody to kind of take over that area, and I just happened to get lucky and got John that year. But he's been back since then. He's interested in the property and looking at ours and seeing what we do. But
he may be interested in barbecue too now.
He is. He does like to cook. But John gives you the plan, and with the help of some other people, local farmers, friends of ours, Miles Allison and Chisholm Craig, which he actually owned a seed company one time, and gives me spray recommendations and different seeds and things like that to put on the property. Him and John both put me on this plant called vetch.
Okay.
It has the same protein as a bean, but unlike a bean where it gets nipped off twice, it dies. This is almost like, it's not invasive as kudzu, but it grows really fast, and they can eat it and it'll come right back. Eat it and come back.
Comes back quickly.
Comes back quickly. It responds to grazing very well.
Okay.
And we've been planting that for the last 3 years, and we've been able to plant summer food plots and keep a year-round food on any of our plots with that vetch.
Very cool. And that kind of thing, that process, and that's some of the content I see. If I go and I check out Buck Junkie Outdoors, that's what's covered there.
We cover a lot of different things, and we're progressing. As we go on, we've got different people that we talk to, foresters and different things like that. That's helped us really create an enjoyable environment for our wildlife from what it was. From utilizing fire, is one of your best management practices you can have. A lot of people gonna ding you on it if you're videoing like we do. They don't understand.
Sure.
They're thinking wildfires. It's not a wildfire. It's controlled. Controlled burn there. And it does so much for your property, whether you're burning a grass field, trying to get rid of some pasture grass and sweet gum trees instead of just mowing things. You go in and you burn once a year or twice a year, and you will watch your property change, and the animals start to use it a lot more than they did when you were just cutting it for a hay field or something like that.
Sure. Did you have any experience with control burning prior to
No,
managing
I
this?
did not.
Okay, so it was new to you.
So this was new to me, and man, the first time we did that, it was pretty intimidating because we burned about a 50-acre grass field. You know, the grass was about chest high in this thing, and when we lit that dude up, man, I was a little nervous, you know. Which I had a guy there that I had a forester there that's what he does for for a living. So I had the guy there, and he done my control burn plan and all that, and got it all. Got all that taken care of for me, and all the fire departments knew that we were doing it on this day, so they were alerted, and it was all taken care of. We didn't get in any trouble as long as we didn't let it get away.
Yeah, right. Didn't get out. And did you have any friends a couple of miles away, and they calling, "Hey, man, I see smoke. What's going on down there?"
Yeah, almost every time we've done it, this year especially, we burned about 200 acres this year, and
Wow.
we lit up some pines that have never been burned before. And man, the fuel on the ground, them pine needles were thick. So it produced a lot of smoke. And man, it was carrying quite a ways, and it looked like the whole world was on fire over on that side of the county, And we had a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
But I had called several. We usually try to call the people that touch us. It was the people that was outside of that were calling.
Yeah.
So,
but the returns are good as far as your experience with doing the burning.
It is. It changed our woods drastically. Just getting that fuel off the ground. If you can imagine, and most of us have done this. If you ever taken a piece of plywood out in the yard, or a piece of tin or something like that, and it's been laying behind your shed or something out in the yard. All right, so when you pick it up, you look under that tin. There's no grass there.
Right.
Remove the tin and see what happens. The grass will grow a lot faster than the grass around it a lot of times.
Right.
So that seed and things are still in that ground, and the leaves and the fuel from pine needles and things like that on the forest floor. Once you remove that, there's a lot of natural forwards and things that are healthy for the wildlife, that are very beneficial for the wildlife, come through, that couldn't get through.
Mm-hmm. So that was new to you. You started to have the experience of control burning. Mm-hmm. What would be one piece of advice for someone listening? And I'm saying this because I kind of have a person in mind who listens to this show. He's a friend of mine. When I go to church with him, and he owns some land. He just is starting to have his first experiences with management. He talked to John, doing a little burning. He told me, he said, "I've never really done any of this burning before."
Yeah.
One piece of advice for someone like that, from your experience of maybe even that first time that you're going to have that controlled burn, checklist you want to go through, things you want to watch out for.
All right. The main thing is make sure you can capture that fire. Go the extra measure. If you have a disc or a tiller or whatever you got, or a doze or whatever you're making your fire breaks with, make them a little extra wider, just in case, if you've never done it. It'll make you feel a lot better. Yeah. And just be patient, take your time, and don't get in a hurry.
Okay.
Because once you light it, it's on. You there's no really stomping it out once the wind gets behind it. You light those head fires. You just take a little time, do your backing fires, make sure you got a good fire breaks in, and just take your time, let your fire burn back, into the wind, not with the wind, and let it burn back out far enough to where when you light the head fires, because when you light that head fire, however fast the wind's moving, that's how fast that fire is going to move.
Okay.
So once you light it, it will get away from you if you're not prepared.
You mentioned other people being there, like numbers of people per size is like, what's been your experience?
It's a good 4 to 5 people.
Yeah.
Is ideal.
Okay.
If you're burning, it really depends on what you're burning. Like our grass fields, they move pretty quick. They burn really fast, and they get intense really fast. So, burning those grass fields, it's always a good idea to have people, because you have to have people out there to, if something does, get out of hand, you've got water tanks out there to spray stuff out, or you got leaf blowers to kind of contain it, and we've got these little snuffers or flappers that you kind of knock the fire out with. Or if you have to go in the woods and do another fire break, if it got away from you and you had to run and go somewhere else and get something done real quick, try to capture it there. Just make sure you got enough people, and they're educated on it, not just somebody to stand there, not just a body.
Yeah. Not just me standing there with my phone filming.
Yeah, that's
Somebody
right.
can be a little more hands-on. What about, in your experience there, managing that, property, running into wild hogs?
We have none right as of now.
Okay.
Just a few miles down the road, we're not far from the Delta.
Yeah, you took a deep breath. I could tell you kind of wanted to knock on some wood there.
Yeah.
Make sure it stays that way.
We have not seen any yet.
Okay.
A friend of ours down the road, he has a huge farm down there in the Delta, and they hunt hogs year round. They're constantly fighting them things. And he's maybe 10 minutes down the road, if he's maybe not even that far.
Okay.
Not very far. So I think it's a matter of time before we get them.
Yeah.
And that's going to change our whole management practice there, from, I don't know if we'll be able to sustain, summertime plots and things like that. We're going to have to we'll just have to see. I hope it never happens, but if it does.
Yeah. This may be a really dumb question for someone, like you, but wild hogs.
Yeah.
What about eating them? Where do you stand on that?
Man, I've heard and read a lot of stuff on that. I have eaten them before, but with some of the stuff that I've read and seen now, I kind of stay away from them.
Not gonna eat it unless you get in
that's
bad
right.
need.
That's right. Unless I get in bad need, I'm probably I can kill enough deer and stuff like that. I don't have to eat them.
That's good.
But if somebody wanted them, if we did shoot them or something like that, I'd let somebody have them. But I don't really want to fool with them.
Okay. All right. So venison, give me 1, 2, and 3 for you. Your favorite way to prepare it and eat it yourself. If you're
okay,
you today, Mikey's hungry for deer meat. He can make it any way he wants it. What's your top 3?
We do a back strap where we take it and we'll cut it kind of thick and we'll butterfly it, opening it up, and it's really hard to tell if whether or not it's a filet mignon. So
Really?
we'll open that up and we'll grill it really, season it, grill it on the grill really fast, just like you would a steak. Pull it off, medium rare, and eat it just like that. I love the natural taste of deer without being covered up too much.
Okay.
But I still like, I'm a sucker for some old fried deer and onion and gravy. It's that's one of my favorites.
Well, especially when you grow up on it.
That's right. That's it takes me back home. So I still have that in my arsenal. And it's usually a couple of times a year thing that we cook. And probably thirdly, we usually take a back strap and I'll fillet this thing out and just roll it out. And then I'll take a cellophane or a meat mallet, and kind of, tenderize it and smash it out flat. And then I'll take cream cheese, jalapenos, or you can put spinach or anything like that, season it up real good, roll it back up, tie it up and truss it, and then put it on the smoker and cook it till you get your desired doneness on it. And then just cut it up in medallions. And man, it is fine.
I bet it is. It sounds fine. And next week, folks, Mikey will be back, and we'll have he'll make all that for me and Chip here on the show, right? And
yeah.
Are we going to do that, Chip? Okay. That sounds great. I'm sure that, being around Malcolm and kind of getting involved there too at How to Barbecue Right, you've picked up some things.
I have. He's a good teacher. Some of the things that he's done, I wonder how he figured some of this stuff out. Maybe it was just maybe it was just trial and error, and maybe it was something he just picked up from somebody else. But he's very intelligent when it comes to cooking and things like that. He's intelligent anyways, but he's pretty sharp when it comes to cooking.
Yeah, he certainly is. It's proven by the thousands and thousands of followers and people that watch his videos. His content's really good. I watched one recently where he was using some sausage that's made here in Mississippi from Florence down there, Country Meat Packers, and he was, and it was basically, it was something that was really simple, okay, but you could feed it to me or someone else, and I would think, man, maybe a whole lot went into this. He makes things look so easy. Yeah, I'm wondering if it is that easy though. But he just makes it look easy.
If you never cooked before, it takes a little bit of understanding of how your equipment works and things like that. Where what's too hot, what's too low, where to do those, where to hold those temperatures at for what you're expecting to get out of it. And Malcolm makes it look easy because he's had a lot of experience doing it. He enjoys doing it. And yeah, he's pretty good at that stuff.
He's pretty good at it. For those listening that maybe haven't yet followed or watched or taken in some of the content from Buck Junkie and you guys, where do they go? Where would you want to point them?
So we're on all the podcast platforms. Our podcast airs about once a week. We usually take a break during the summer, so there's a break there that we take. But it usually runs about anywhere from 9 months out of the year, 8 to 9 months out of the year. And you can find that on any of the podcast platforms, videos and things like that. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Some of our longer form videos are on YouTube. A lot of our, short recipes and things like that are on TikTok. We do have Facebook pages where we do giveaways and different things like that on there. Matter of fact, we have a turkey call competition going on right now where you submit a video of your best turkey call sequence and stuff like that, and we're going to send you some turkey calls. So, but yeah, any of those, you can find us on any of those.
Very cool. The podcast, if I tune in, what kind of topics generally like?
They vary. We try to do what season is in right now. Like we just got through talking about turkey hunting and different experiences turkey hunting. And we ask a lot of questions about, equipment and tactics and things like that, and what works, what hadn't worked for us, and, just some of the things like that.
Yeah. During the warmer time of the year, summer months, you fish?
I do fish. Try to fish as much as possible. I love fishing. We don't generally in the summertime. We usually take that time off because we got a lot of employees out. Everybody's taking summer break. They got kids, so when that hits, we're missing people, and we're trying to do it without certain people there. So it gets kind of aggravating when you don't have your full crew there. But anyways, so we just kind of take that time off, give it a break. But yes, I love fishing.
All right, so another one. Favorite fish to eat for you?
Catfish.
Okay, so it is catfish.
It is catfish.
Favorite way to prepare catfish?
Oh, Lord. Now, I love good fried catfish, but I love grilled catfish, blackened catfish.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ways to do it is either blacken it or fry it, either one. And then put it over a bed of rice, and I'll make a crawfish étouffée to put over the top of it. We call it Friday Special at home.
Okay.
We actually have that video on our website too.
So crawfish on top of the catfish on top of rice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
And that too, he'll make it next week when he's here, right, Chip?
Man, I feel like every time we have somebody in here, they're always talking about how good crappie is.
I know.
And he's the first one that said catfish. So
I don't know.
I'm a big catfish fan.
Something inside of me, I'm thinking, okay, I know it's DeSoto County, but it's real close to Memphis. He's real close to the river. And I don't know. I'm not surprised you said catfish.
Yeah. I like all fish. I mean, it is, when we go down to the coast and stuff like that, we go fishing down there sometimes. And, red fish is really good. Black drum, things like that. Speckled trout. I love those types of fish grilled. But, if I had to choose, it would be catfish.
Okay.
All day, every day.
I had some buddies, this is years ago, they moved and got careers and all, but when they were young and single, it's 20 years ago in Tupelo, we all, fished bass tournaments and things together. Yeah. But they would do that once or twice a year, go down to the coast. They'd come back with a cooler full of snapper, grouper, these big fillets.
Yeah.
And they'd have one night, they'd say, okay, we're cooking on this night, and we'd show up and they would grill it.
Yeah.
The big grouper, snapper. And all they would do is marinate that like overnight in the fridge in a Ziploc bag with Italian salad dressing.
Yeah.
And then just take it out. And it's big, thick enough together. They just throw it on the grill. Yeah. Sometimes they put foil on the grill, I guess, to keep it from sticking.
Yeah.
But that's some of the best fish I've ever eaten.
Yeah, I love the taste of fish. like the same way with any kind of wild game or fish like that. I love just simple.
Yeah.
Salt and pepper, maybe a little garlic, something like that. You know,
Yeah.
not heavily seasoned, not trying to cover it up too much. I love the taste of wild game.
You know, that's the one thing I've noticed from talking to you too is there's a simplicity angle to the types of things you like to prepare and the way you want to eat it.
Yeah.
You don't really want to complicate it.
Yeah, I try not to. You know, it's wild game sometimes is hard to come by. So, you know, trying to cover it up with a lot of stuff, you know, you can put cream cheese in anything, and sometimes that's not the way I want to eat it. It's still good.
Yeah,
it's great, you know. But I do like just a plain grilled fish, grilled wild game, anything like that.
All right. Mikey likes it.
Basic. Mikey likes it.
Mikey, it's great to be here with you. Yeah. Thanks for introducing Buck Junkie to us and how to barbecue right. I'm going to make sure I follow and start listening, and I hope others do too. It's really a neat thing you got going.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate y'all letting me be here.
Yep. Enjoyed that. Mikey likes it. He's Mikey Dyer from How to Barbecue Right and Buck Junkie. Y'all look him up. Thanks for listening today, the Mississippi Outdoors Podcast, and we'll see you outdoors.